Good day, children. Today, let us see Unit 4 Prose Tight Corners, written by Edward Verral Lucas. What do you mean by tight corners, children? Tight corners in the sense where you are held up in some trouble or where you are in a bad position. That is known as tight corners. Now, let us see the warm-up, children. Many of us have unused, old but valuable items at home. If we wish to get rid of them, we can sell them at an auction. Items like paintings, jewels, household articles, vehicles, even houses can be auctioned. Isn't it, children? Where we don't use some of our house articles. What do? Now to the present days, we put in OLX for sales. But this OLX facilities was not there in those days. So what people they do, any valuable household thing, it might be painting, jewels, or even houses, vehicles, whatever it is, they put under auction. What is auction, children? See here, the flow chart below will help you understand how an auction is conducted. Okay, children, see, if you read this flow chart, you will understand how an auction is conducted. You would have seen in films all, children, how an auction is done. Where any person where he is willing to sell anything, he will say, I need this much of amount. And the one who is conducting auction, they take in charge of selling the particular article. They keep excess amount. And whatever is a benefit they take, and the person how much he has demanded, he gets that amount. That is what auction here. But anyways, children, see, I'll go for your purpose. Enter the sale room where the items are displayed for sale. Then decide the item you wish to buy. If you are willing to, here the flow chart is, children, for you to buy any item from auction. Okay, first you will enter the sales room. Then you will decide the item what you wish to buy. Get a card with a registration number from the staff. The auctioneer opens by quoting a price for each article. Each article, children, they will fix a price. And if you want to buy that article, you can fix your price. Now imagine any article, the auctioneer is starting with 10,000 rupees. You can keep excess. You might ask for 11,000, then some other will ask for 12,000, the other person for 12.5. Like that, it keeps increasing. And finally, the maximum price is quoted by whom? That person, he begets the article. That is how auction goes on. Then each buyer holds up his or her card and states a price which is higher than the opening price. The auction continues with each bidder quoting a higher prices until the item is considered sold. So when the highest price is mentioned, the article is considered to be sold. After that, once the article is sold, later on no one can sell that article. No one can, you can claim the article. Once it is sold, it is sold, that's it. The deal is closed with the highest bidding price. The highest price is announced thrice. And the highest bidder finally goes to the clerk and hands over the card. Yes. So thrice if they announce the article, yes, this is the price fixed for that article. That's it. The person who has claimed the price, he gets the article. This is how auction goes on. Okay, now let us see the lesson, children. In Tight Corners, E.V. Lucas narrates the story of how he was rescued from humiliation at an auction house by a sudden stroke of luck. Let's read on and get to know how he got himself in a tight corner and found his way out of that situation. Now here, in the lesson Tight Corners, E.V. Lucas, he narrates a story stating how he was rescued, how he was saved from humiliation. Humiliation in the sense from insult. At an auction house by a sudden stroke of luck. Just by luck he escaped. Let us see where he put himself under trouble and how he was escaped from the situation. We'll see, children. Now let us start the lesson, children. The talk was running on the critical situation in which we had found ourselves, those of us whose lives were adventurous enough to comprise any. Now here, no, along with the author, his friends, they were just having a talk stating about the critical situation where they put themselves under trouble. No, they keep talking. Just these friends, no, they have a talk stating that if we put ourselves under trouble, how difficult it is to come out of that. They keep talking. And one man had been caught by the tide of Brittany and escaped by the skin of his teeth. Another had been on an elephant when a wounded tiger charged at it. A third had been on the top story of a burning house. A fourth was torpedoed in the war. Now each friend, they keep narrating the troubles, stating to the tight corner how they were caught and how they came out. Here the narrator, he says, the author, he says, you put up yourself in trouble. Physical trouble is different than mental trouble. Physical trouble, somehow you come out. But mentally, if you are trouble, how will you come out of it? But these four friends, at first they keep talking about the physical trouble. We'll see what his friends says. The first one man, he said that he escaped very narrowly from a tide in a Brittany. Brittany in the sense a region in the coast of northwest France, children. Then the other one says he had been on an elephant while a tiger charged at it. The third person has said he was on third story of a building. When the building was burning, he was in the third story. He was on the third story. He was on the top story of the building, on the top floor. Then a fourth man, he says that he was torpedoed in the war. Torpedoed in the sense he was escaped from a missile attack in a war. But you all talk, said one of the companion, as though tight corners were always physical affairs. Surely they can be tighter when they are mental. The tightest corner I was ever in was at Christie's. And the narrator, he says, see, your troubles are you were in the tight corner, you were troubled, physically troubled. But if you were troubled in a mental way, then you will know what is the real trouble. Once I suffered in such way. Here the narrator says, it was at Christie's. Christie's in the sense, it is a village. Christie's, it was at Christie's, it's a place. One of them, he asked, one of his friend, he asked him to, see, he says, Christie's here, the one, he says, to elaborate the incident, what happened in the Christie's. Okay, yes, I had, Christie's, it's a place, children, here. Yes, I had been lunching rather well at a club in St. James Street with an old friend from abroad, and passing along King Street afterwards, he pursued me to look in at the sales room. The place was full. Here the narrator, he was narrating the incident. He was saying, once he had his lunch in a club, in St. James Street, which was, he had lunch with his old friend. He was from abroad. He had lunch from along with his friend. And as they were passing in the King Street. It's the name of a street over there. As they were passing in the street, his friend, he pursued narrator to look in the sales room. Some auction was going on there, and his friend, he asked him to just look into the sales room. And the place was fully occupied. It was crowded. See, children, you can see in the picture. See, this is how the auction takes place. Whatever say you wish to sell, the picture or product or anything, that will be kept in front of the audience, and a price will be fixed. And upon that price, you can ask which whatever it's your wish, you can keep increasing the price. If you are willing to buy, you can increase the price. This is how the auction takes place. They were selling Barbies and pictures and getting tremendous sums for each. 2,000 and 3,000 for little bits of things. Forest scenes, pools at evening, shepherdess, the regular subjects. Now this narrator and his friend, they just went inside to see what's happening in the auction. Over there, in this auction, they were selling Barbizon pictures. Barbizon picture in the sense, children, Barbizon is a village in France. And it was a favorite resort of painting notes for a particular style of landscape painting. And here, in this auction, they were selling various pictures. Barbizon's picture, various pictures they were sales was made over there, and they were getting tremendous sum in the sense good benefits. This auction people, they were getting good benefits, because each picture, it goes more than 2 or 3,000, sometimes 4,000, 5,000, it increases. Even for little bit things also, the price is high. The pictures, various pictures, they had paintings, they had forest scenes, pools at evening, many pictures they had, and auction was under process. Nothing went for 3 figures at all. Well, we watched for a little while, and then I found myself bidding too, just for fun. I had exactly 63 pounds in the bank and not enough securities to borrow 500 on. And here I was nodding away to the auctioneer like a blot cart. What do you mean by blot cart, children? Okay. Blot cart in the sense, fat and rich person of high station. Okay, as if you belong to high society. That's the meaning. And here the narrator, he said, when he went inside the auction room, the prices were high and nothing went below 3 figures. Below 3 figures in the sense, everything, it went on thousands, more than thousands. And this fellow, he had only 63 pounds in his bank. And he didn't had anyone to help him also. Help him with money. But what he did, he acted as if he's a very rich person over there. He started increasing the price. Even he started bidding. He didn't have money. He didn't have enough of money in his account. But even he started bidding. Bidding in the sense, when someone fix any rate for the article, maybe someone is fixing 3,000, you increase the amount, saying that 3,500. The other one will say 3,600, then 3,800. Like that, you keep increasing the amount. That is bidding. The same thing, even the narrator, he did. He acted as if he's a rich person over there. And he started bidding. He forgot to think how much he has in his account. You will get caught, my friend, said to me. No, I shan't. I shan't in the sense, I shall not. That's the meaning. I shan't, I said. I am not going to run any risk. Now, when he started bidding, his friend said, see, don't play fun, you will get caught, you will be in trouble. For that, narrator said, no, I will not get any risk, don't worry. He's saying that he started increasing the rate. No, he started hiking the amount of the picture that is sold. And for a long time, I didn't. And then a picture was put up, and a short red-faced man in a new top hat, some well-known dealer who had bought quite a number, electrified the room by starting the bidding at a figure a little higher than any that he had yet given or that anything had reached. Now, for a long time, no, this narrator he kept bidding. No, he was not put in trouble. He was just playing fun over there. And after sometimes a new picture was placed over there, and no auction was under process. A red-faced fellow, no, uh, he started stating the amount. He went straight away with the 4 digits number, and he seemed to be as if no he had bought many pictures. He's familiar of he's used of this auction. The fellow seemed to be like that, and what he did, the moment the picture was placed, no, he started with an high amount, that is electrified the room. The fellow, he was a known dealer. That's why he started hiking the amount. At a stretch, he started hiking the amount, and that electrified the room. Electrified in the sense, people were shocked by listening to the amount that he has stated. Although the previous lots had run into 4 figures, they had all been modestly started at 50 guineas or 100 guineas, with a gradual crescendo to which I had often been safely contributing. But no sooner was a new picture displayed than the dealer made his sensational bid. 4,000 guineas, he said. Now, so long, no, the auction was going in a calm manner. As people keep hiking, no, it was people were increasing 100 guineas or 50 guineas, no, like that people were increasing. And this fellow also, no, even narrator also, he was also playing along with other people. Other people, they were not playing, but he was playing over there, increasing the amount. Now, when the new picture was placed over there, the dealer, no, he made his sensation with 4,000 guineas. At the stage, no, he increased, saying 4,000. The painting, no, he was willing to buy for 4,000. A red-faced fellow, the one who was willing to buy the picture, he fixed the amount for that particular painting, 4,000. There was a rustle of excitement, and at the end of it, I heard my own voice saying, "And 50. A terrible silence followed, during which the auctioneer looked inquiringly first at the opener and then at the company generally. Now, when the red-faced man, no, the one who was willing to buy the picture, he stated 4,000 rupees. When he stated 4,000 rupees, our narrator, no, he couldn't be quiet. He started playing fun again. He said 4,050. The moment when he fixed the price 4,050, there was terrible silence in the hall. Everyone were quiet. None they opened the mouth. Even the person who fixed 4,000 dollar for the picture, he didn't open his mouth. Even he was quiet. And what will happen if no one opens the mouth? The one who has fixed the amount last, he is supposed to buy the article. Okay. To my surprise and horror, the red-faced dealer gave no sign of life. I realize now, as I ought to have done at first, that he had shot his bolt. Okay. Now, no, when this red-faced fellow, when he didn't give any sign, when he didn't say anything, our narrator, he was under trouble. Only then he realized, oh, what a great mistake I had done. Now, if no one increase the price, then who has to pay that money for the picture? Narrator has to pay the money. Only then he realized, why did I open my mouth when I'm not supposed to buy, when I'm not going to buy the picture, when I'm not going to take up anything in the auction? Why did I open my mouth? Now no one is willing to increase the price, which means I must pay $4,050 for this picture. 4,050 guineas offered, said the auctioneer again, searching the room. Now this auctioneer, when narrator he said 4,050, auctioneer was surprised. First he looked at the red-faced fellow, the one who opened the price, the one who stated the price first. The auctioneer, he just looked at him, then he looked the company fellow, and no one opened the mouth. Now the auctioneer, he kept repeating the price. 4,050 guineas offered. He kept repeating, looking entirely to the room, searching that will anyone increase the price. My heart stopped, my blood congealed. Now no one increased the price. Everyone were just quiet. Looking everyone silent. No narrator, he was under trouble. My heart stopped, my blood congealed. There was no sound but a curious, smoothed noise from my friend. What do you mean by my heart stopped? My heart stopped, my blood congealed in the sense his blood gone thicker and it's frozen from fear. Now he's scared. Oh, what a great mistake I had done. There was no sound but a curious, smoothed in the sense suppressed noise from my friend. 4,050 guineas. Any advance on 4,050 guineas? And the hammer fell. Now the auctioneer, no, he kept asking, is anyone willing to raise? Anyone willing to ask more? No one opened the mouth. Finally, the hammer fell down. Hammer fell down in the sense it is stopped. Thrice the amount will be repeated, children. Any amount, no, that is last claim. Thrice the amount will be repeated and that will be the fixed amount. Now the auctioneer, no, he started saying 4,050. Anyone willing to increase? 4,050. 4,050 he said, and he dropped the hammer, which means the picture is fixed for 4,050. Now author is supposed to buy the picture. That was a nice pickle to be in. Here was I with 63 pounds in the world and not 500 pounds worth of securities. The purchaser of a picture which I didn't want for 4,050 guineas, the top price of the day. Now our narrator, no, he was in great trouble. He was thinking, from where will I go for this much money? I don't have, he has only 63 pounds in his account. From where will I go for extra money? And I don't have any relatives to, to share that much money. I don't have any relatives or friend. What will I do? He was in a great trouble. Turning for some kindly support to my friend, I found that he had left me, but not as a fear at the moment from the baseness, but as I afterwards discovered, in order to find a remote place in which to lean against the hall and laugh. Now he turned to see his friend. His friend absconded. He was scared. He know, if I get caught, people along with him, no, they'll kick me also, thinking that his friend, he ran away. And he was laughing in such a way, his friend, he couldn't control his laugh. He closed his mouth and he laughed beyond the limit. Why did his friend laugh? One ordinary painting which doesn't cost even 500 rupees also. That painting, narrator has to pay $4,050. Thinking that, no, his friend, he laughed beyond the limit. He started laughing. Stunned and gazed as I was, I pulled myself together sufficiently to hand my card nonchalantly, I hope, to the clerk who came for the millionaire collector's name, and then I set to pondering on the problem, what to do next. Picture after picture was put up and sold, but I was none of them. I was running over the name of the uncles and other persons from whom I might be possible to borrow, but wasn't. This people, this auction, nonchalantly in the sense, very coolly, and our narrator, he was suddenly at days, and I was pulled up myself together sufficiently to handle my card very coolly. He was moving to the clerk, thinking that everyone who has card, children, where you fix any article, you will show that card to the clerk and you will get your article. Now one after the other, people, they were moving in a row. Many pictures were sold over there, so people, they were moving in a row to collect the article. As they were moving, this fellow was standing cool, thinking that what will I do? I don't have money. How will I buy this picture, and where everyone in the line, no, when they were approaching friend to buy the article, they were showing the card to buy the article, and as they were moving on, even narrator also, he was moving to buy the article. But as he was moving forward, no, he was thinking, to whom will I get for help? Narrator, no, he was looking on the problem, what to do next, what will I do. He was no, he was upset. He was thinking, what can from where will I collect money, what to be done. And as he was thinking, no, he was running over the names of his uncle and other person from whom he could borrow some amount. Narrator, he was just thinking, from whom will I borrow money, from his relatives. He was thinking about all his relatives. Will any of my uncle or any of my aunt will they support me to buy this picture? Will they give me any amount? He was thinking to borrow money from his relatives, but he couldn't find anyone where people could help him to buy the picture. Wondering if the money lenders who talk so glibly and note offhand only really mean it, speculating on the possible of confessing my poverty to one of the Christie's staff and having the picture put up again. That was the best way, and yet how could I do it after all the other bits I had made? The staff looked so prosperous and unsympathetic, and no one would believe it was a mistake. A genuine mistake of such a kind would have been rectified at once. Now, author, he thought, no, since he couldn't get anyone to help him, he thought, okay, let me go and confess to any one of the Christies, asking them to put up the auction again, stating his situation. He is unable to pay the money. He has just made fun, and asking them to. Now, narrator, no, he thought, okay, let me confess, stating that he has no money and it was his great mistake that he has bid the price for the picture, asking them to asking them to conduct the auction once again. He thought, okay, let me say this. But then he couldn't openly narrate his mistake. He was just thinking, will it be the right way to do so? Will people agree to what he says? And he was thinking, will people believe to what he says? Without money, no person will take part in auction. That's what people will think. And if he says no, will they believe? Many thoughts were running in his mind. Okay. Meanwhile, the sale came to an end, and I stood on the outskirts of the little knot of buyers round the desk who were writing checks and giving instructions. Naturally, I preferred to be the last. It was there that I was joined by my friend, but only for a moment, for on a look at my face, he rammed his handkerchief in his mouth and again disappeared. Now, meanwhile, as he was thinking, the auction came to an end. So many pictures were sold over there, and our auction came to an end. People, the one who claimed for the price, the one who fixed the price for the article, they started writing the check, and they took back the article. When his turn was nearing. When his turn was nearing, he couldn't understand what to do. At that moment also, he saw his friend. Just for a second, his friend, he reappeared. He kept his face. He rammed his handkerchief in his mouth. He tightened the handkerchief in his mouth. He laughed and he disappeared. Why his friend laughed? Looking the author in trouble, see, first he warned him. Narrator's friend, he warned him not to open your mouth in the auction, but he didn't listen to him. Now, when he was caught in the trouble, his friend, he feels laughing at him, and he couldn't subside his laugh. and alone I was to dree this awful breath. I have never felt such a fool or had colder feet in all my life. I believe I should have welcomed a firing party. Now, what do you mean by dree this awful breath? To put up with one's faith. To put up with one's faith. Now, the narrator, he thinks, oh, it's my faith, it's my mistake, no, it's my doing. Had I not opened my mouth, I would have not been in this trouble. What a foolish man I am. No, he keeps cursing himself, and he thought, it is sure today I'm going to be fired. With a party of people, I'm going to be fired, in the sense people will bombard him, they'll not leave him. He knows what is his situation going to be. Thinking of that, no, he was really scared. And then the unexpected happened, and I realized that a career of retute sometimes has rewards beyond the mere consciousness of virtue. A voice at my ear suddenly said, "Beg pardon, sir, but was you the gent that bought the big Daubigny?" Here, Daubigny in the centurion, the name of the picture, that is. Now, an unexpected thing happened. You know what happened? The narrator realized that honesty would have rewarded. He heard a voice. No, he said, okay, let me be honest. Let me go and say what it happened. No? Thinking that the very moment he heard a voice which inquired him if he was the man who bought the big painting. Painting by the artist Daubigny. Daubigny is the name of the picture. Well, the gent who offered 4,000 guineas wants to know if you will take 50 guineas for your bid. Now a messenger came to narrator asking him, sir, if you wish, you can sell this portrait. No, my master, he wish to buy this portrait. He shall give you 50 guineas extra. That is, for 4,050 you have claimed. He shall buy the portrait for 4,100. A messenger, he came and just inquired to the narrator, if ever a messenger of the high gods wore a green baize apron and spoke in husky cockney tones, this was he. I could have embraced him and wept for joy. Would I take 50 guineas? Why I would have taken 50 fattings? Okay. The messenger, he wore a green apron and of course woolen material. No, he spoke in a husky tone to the narrator regarding the portrait. He said, sir, I'm a messenger of my sir. My sir has sent this message. Will you sell the portrait? And now, narrator, the moment he heard this, he thought as if, the man is God's messenger, and he felt, to weep in joy, to hug the person and weep in joy. Embrace in the sense to hug the person and weep in joy. Why in joy? He couldn't collect that much money to buy the portrait. He couldn't make up the sum of money. But when someone voluntarily willing to buy the portrait, he couldn't withstand with the happiness. Then, he thought, why should I accept for 50 guineas? Let me quote little more, he thought. Who thought? Narrator. Children, you must think, already is in trouble. When someone is willing to take up his trouble, even in that situation also, narrator, he is planning to make bigger benefits. But how near the surface and ready, even in the best of us, is worldly guilt, is worldly cure, is that the most he would offer. I had the presence of mind to ask. What do you mean by cure, children? Cruel in the sense cunning. No, the man, he was really cunning. Who? The narrator, he was cunning, that the one who is willing to take up his burden, even in that situation also, he was cunning enough to make up some good benefit for himself. For whom? The narrator himself. Then he thought, why should I accept for 50 excess pounds? Let me offer little more. Let me offer something excess. It's not for me to say. He replied, no harm in trying for a bit more, is there? Now the narrator, the narrator's messenger, he said, so if you're willing to sell the picture, no harm if you wish to sell it in little more amount. You can quote little more excess also, sir. Tell him I'll take 100, I said, and I got it. Now, narrator, he said to the messenger, tell your master I'll take $100 excess. For 1,050 it is quoted price. I shall sell this picture to 4,150. Now saying this, the messenger, he took the price, and author, he got extra 100 pounds. When I found my friend, I was laughing too, but he became grave at once on seeing the check. Well, I'm hanged, he said. Of all the luck, I'm hanged. Now, after selling the price, author was so happy that he couldn't control his laugh, looking at his friend. And his friend was surprised. Why is this man laughing? When he showed the check to his friend, only then he understood, okay, he has sold the price to someone else. And that is why he is laughing beyond the limit. When he found his friend laughing, after seeing the check, his friend became serious. Why he became serious now? Why is this fellow laughing? When he was caught in the trouble, why is he laughing? But later on, he confessed him what has happened, he said. And it was surprising his friend. The incident when he said to his friend that someone has bought the picture, this incident, it surprised his friend about the luck that favored the narrator. Actually, it is luck that favored narrator, children. Sometimes, we see whatever we work hard, we say, people say, hard work brings success. That is true, children. 99% hard work only brings success. But 1%, luck plays its role. So that 1% has been favored to narrator over here. Then he said, don't forget that if it hadn't been for me, you wouldn't have come into Christie's at all. I shall never forget it, I said. It is indelibly branded in letters of fire on my heart. My hair hasn't gone white as if. Then his friend, he said, see, don't forget me, dear. Because of me only you came to this place. You came to this Christie's. Had I not brought you here, you would have not been benefited. This 100 pounds, you would have not been benefited. Which means his friend is asking a share from that amount. That is the reason. That is what he says to his friend, not to forget him. But anyways, children, indirectly his friend, he mocks at him. Why he mocks at him? Narrator's friend, he left him in between, when narrator was in trouble, he didn't help him. He escaped. So indirectly, he pointed out the selfishness of his friend, and as he deserted him at the crucial hours. Actually, when narrator was in trouble, he was looking out the help of his friend. But at that time, his friend, he didn't help him. He was just laughing at him. Twice he came in front of him. Twice he was laughing at him, and he escaped. That's what narrator, he felt bad on his friend. When he was in trouble, his friend didn't help him. But anyways, he says he will not forget his friend. Because of him, he came to the Christie's place, and he had earned some 100 pounds. So he says he will not forget his friend. Yes, children, hope you would have understood the lesson. Anyways, children, read the lesson for your better understanding.